years ago that Miami has all these ingredients to be a global city.
That's correct. That's very correct.
So all I knew is that I never wanted to have a regular job. I did it twice for 2 weeks, and they were all lovely people. No one did anything bad to me. It was fine. I couldn't do it. I'm going to die here. I can't do this. People have to trust you. Like, that's point number one. Like, they have to trust you. I mean, really, look, I was born in a country that no longer exists. We live in America. Mm-hmm. What's your worst case scenario here? You're not going to be in a war zone. Probably not, right? So you're going to have running water. You're going to have internet. It's not that catastrophic.
Because I think it's a bonus if we have people around us who support us and lift us and elevate us. But showing up for yourself is something almost you kind of got to do in the dark, even when you don't feel like it. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the $1 Million Branders podcast. So today we have a dear friend of mine who I actually met when I was in Miami at a camp event, and we clicked straight away. Ana Bozovic, also known as Ana Analytics, is the founder and owner of Analytics Miami. For the past 8 years, she has been publishing long-term trend analysis on the South Florida real estate market. She's serving her 4th term as a governor of the Miami Association of Realtors. She's often quoted by international and national press on topics pertaining to the real estate market and global trends. She's also a graduate of Columbia University, so she's not just a pretty face. And her reports draw upon her abilities to see past the noise and recognize pattern in data. And just in case you're wondering why she looks so fit and amazing, she is also a Jiujitsu competitor, something I highly respect because this is my background in Muay Thai, but she trains daily with some of the best teams in the world. She's a weapon. She's an entrepreneur. Ana, it is such an honor to have you on the show today. Thank you for making time.
Thank you so much for having me. And it was such a pleasure to meet you last year. I feel like we were meant to meet, and this is just the beginning of adventures.
Definitely many adventures. We often talk about how we're going to be doing an Ocean's 12 reenactment with just me and her. Probably, I think we're going to be young forever, but just throw that in there. But Ana, tell us a little bit about yourself, because I know that you've achieved not just an amazing high level of accolades and entrepreneurship, but to me, what fascinates me is your mindset, but I really want to know a little bit about your story. I'm going to call it your humble beginnings, how you got into entrepreneurship, how you started Analytics Miami. Analytics Ana, I feel like, is your new nickname, but would love to hear that from you.
Sure. So going back, I was born in what was Yugoslavia when I was born. I was born in Belgrade, which is now Serbia. And then my family moved to New York City when I was 3. So I grew up in New York City. And then, I mean, to be honest, it was, I went through a period of time where I didn't speak to my parents for over 20 years. I've actually recently started speaking to them again this year. So most of my adult life, almost all of it, I did not. And that sort of started when I was younger. And so I did a lot of sports when I was very young, because I disliked school immensely. It was very boring and easy. And I felt it was a waste of my time. I told them this also. I said, this is like prison for children. And I stand by what I said to this day. I was correct. It was like anyway. And they were nice people. I went to a good private school. It's not their fault. It was better than most. I just disliked the environment on principle. And so I trained a lot. I fenced when I was younger. I was a competitive athlete in fencing.
Wow.
And then sports was always my refuge. I've made some of my best friends in sports, because when you train with people every day and you suffer with them, you can't hide who you are. There's an authenticity that doesn't in many other parts of life. People have a facade or some type of, when you're training and you're going 100%, that's you. Like you can't hide it. So you always, those people. And then I stayed in New York City. I went to Columbia. I studied math and physics. And I liked really weird theoretical things. So I did a lot of space-time physics, modern geometry, weird stuff like that. Nothing practical, no labs. I liked very weird abstract things. I actually did not graduate. I dropped out after my junior year. It was at that point I did research 2 summers. One was in particle physics, one was something else. And theme in my life, I was the only girl and the youngest person in everything that I did.
Wow.
But I realized that I didn't want to get a PhD. I did not like academia at all. And I, for many reasons, and I didn't see where the path was going at all. So all I knew is that I never wanted to have a regular job. I did it twice for 2 weeks, and they were all lovely people. No one did anything bad to me. It was fine. I couldn't do it. I'm going to die here. I can't do this. And so I knew that I did not want a regular job. And I knew that I never wanted to go into academia. And so it was a very challenging time in life because I realized that I was not on a path that I had chosen. I didn't have the easiest of childhoods, and it was everything I did was reactive. I just hid in sports. I didn't really think constructively of where I was going or what I wanted to do. School was very easy for me. So I didn't try to get into college. I took my SATs cold. I did as little as possible in high school. Like it wasn't my dream or my effort. I didn't work for it, like truly at all. And I remember going there and people were like, wow, it's my dream to be here. And I'm like, really? Like it didn't even like, it truly, like I didn't even occur to me that was it was not my dream. I just wanted to stay with my coach and stay in New York, because all I liked was sports, and that was the best school. And I applied and I got in, and like that was it. But I never approached what I wanted to do from a constructive path. It was all just reactionary and kind of weird survival mode. I was never in a happy place where I could be like, okay, this is what I want to do. And so all I came when I was around 20 years old, because I started school when I was 17. So when I was around 20 years old, all I knew was what I didn't want to do. And it kind of like struck me. And I was like, I have to get off this path because it was not of my choosing and I don't like any of it. And so I quit fencing, I quit school, and I went off on my own and figured it out. That's,
Brave woman right there.
yes.
And how
And
did
it was
you?
one of those.
Yeah, sorry, and then the analytics, how did you get into that? How did you
I
start?
moved to Miami about 11 years ago. And it was, at the time I was living mostly in Switzerland. It was time to come back to America, and it was a 6-month experiment. And I started learning a lot about the city. This was 11 years ago. So Miami has grown tremendously since then. And perhaps it was a contrast via, Zurich is very old. New York is much older than Miami, but Zurich is far older than Miami. 150-year-old building there is called new construction. I mean, it's not even interesting. They have 500-year-old buildings all over the place in the Altstadt. So here I was like, wow, the city's so new. I was struck by how new it was. And this is way before COVID accelerated it, but I felt like it was going to grow. Like I felt it. And so I started learning about the real estate markets, meeting people involved in it. And you see the skyline forming, and I felt that the growth of the real estate market was very much going to go in tandem with the growth of the city and the region. And I kind of got fascinated by it. I started meeting everybody, learning about it. And then I got my real estate license about at that time, like 9 years ago, I think it was. And, it's funny. It was not my intent. I felt like I needed to understand what I was talking about before I could tell anybody else about it. On a
Yes.
level that's probably weird because most people don't do this at all. And so I said, how can I possibly tell someone what I think about a property if I don't know where it's sitting, what the context is? Because I say this many times, like prices in isolation mean nothing. Everything lives in a cycle and everything lives within some type of world. And you have to understand the dynamics of this thing you're talking about. Otherwise, you're just making things up, which is what most people
Absolutely.
do. And so I've gotten stabilized and I realized you could download all this raw data. And so I download all this raw data and I started just charting it, like everything, all sorts of submarkets, things like this. And I started seeing whatever, I just did all, and I did it for myself. I didn't even publish it because I needed to understand what was going on. And then I had my broker, kind of mentor at the time, my friend Kaya, hi Kaya, he suggested that I make videos talking about this stuff. And I was like, who would find this interesting? I thought it was so obvious and boring. That's like honest truth. I'm like, this is not even interesting. Like, it's just obvious information. Like, who would want this? And he's like, no. Like, you should publish this and like make videos about it. And I was kind of like, really? Like, really? And at the time, I was running track. So I ran masters track. I actually came in second in the country in my age group in the 400 meters. So because I did it.
Crazy.
And as much as I trained jujitsu, I lived track. I had these amazing guys I trained with. I was there 2-3 hours a day, like 5-6 days a week. And one of my friends, so we're training for the 400. The 400 is like a long, painful sprint. These like two corners, and there's a little bit of strategy in how you take it. And so I would always ask all these questions. Hey, is it this? And they'd be like, Ana, like, shut up and run. And so one of my track friends, Davis, he started calling me Analytics, and it was my track nickname. And then when I had to name the LLC, I listened to my friend like, okay, he's right. I'm going to make this entity. I'm going to start publishing the stuff. I was like, what do I call it? And I was really like deliberating. I didn't want anything weird or contrived or gimmicky. And I was like, what do I call this? And then I said, I went to the track one night and so analytics. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to call it analytics.
That's excellent. And, I'm just laughing because I remember after the camp event when we were all sitting there and you were like, hey, South Africa, and like you pointed to me and now I call you Miami. And it's just so funny. We have like all these names for each other, but
Yeah,
that's
those
brilliant.
are the best ones where it's not contrived, where someone just like feels it and says it. That's like, those are the best.
100%. But you've gone from such strength to strength. And I love how you brought in, I think you do. I think being an entrepreneur, you need an athlete mindset. Like I really do, because you've got to be prepared for all seasons. It's like slow and steady wins the race. And I know you're a very strategic, brilliant entrepreneur. But what I wanted to ask you, how has your practice from what you've learned in jiu-jitsu and even track influenced your approach to entrepreneurship and mindset?
Oh, hugely. Everything I've learned from mindset and how to think has come from sports, not from school. School pretends to teach you what to think, pretends to, but doesn't even endeavor to teach you how to think. And how to think is the most important thing because it is all a mind game, all of it. And it's sports analogies are so powerful that way because it's a sporting event is one discrete time. Like we can easily understand the concept, but it applies to real life. So if you don't have a goal, if you don't have a target, and if you don't actually believe you can win, you never will. And we know this in like track is such a simple analogy. If you don't know what time you have to hit, what are you training for? You can't actually even train if you don't have a target. And you have to actually believe you can do it. Now, in any one-on-one sport, you have an opponent. It's less objective to say how good somebody is because there's no time. All you have is the opponent in that one interaction. But if you in your mind don't think you can win, you have absolutely no shot. It's never going to happen. And so it teaches you to have strength in mind and to see and know and believe your outcome before it happens. That's how you create your outcomes. And then what it also teaches you is how to react to stuff happening to you in real time. How quickly can you turn something into a positive in your mind? If you can do that in real time, then you keep moving. And then you realize that how you perceive something is the totality of it. That's how it creates your mood and how it affects you moving forward. The past is dead. It only exists in your mind. And if you go back to the past, you should do so to extract value and make your future stronger. If something isn't part of your path forward, it's pulling you back. And I think that competitive sports distills that. Very little other things in life do, especially in our modern world where most people are not in survival mode. They can go through a hamster wheel, they can get a job, they can do those things. And they're never really taught that you can do these things, that you can create your reality.
Definitely. And I know we were speaking the other day on the phone, and it's how you do one thing is how you do everything. But mindset is such an important component to that, which brings me to the next question in terms of parallels. What parallels do you see between the discipline required in jiu-jitsu and track and the discipline needed to succeed as an entrepreneur?
Oh, resilience.
Mm.
Resilience. It's never a straight path up. Resilience, showing up, discipline. Discipline. You have to show up every day and you have to make yourself better every day. And those things apply to business and sports, I think, equally, because you can't, being an entrepreneur requires energy. It's not a passive experience. You're not clocking in, you're not clocking out. So you have to show up for yourself every day and you have to make yourself better every day. And you create everything you do. There's no one's made the path for you. You're making it yourself every single day. So discipline, resilience, and showing up for yourself.
Hey guys, so if you are enjoying this episode, if you have gotten value from this episode and it has changed your life by teaching you things, I'm going to ask you a huge favor. If you would subscribe, like, follow, and share with people so we can bring more incredible guests to the $1 Million Branders podcast to serve you better, so you can make more money in your business, in your life, and accelerate your growth into becoming the $1 Million brand that I know is possible for you. Thank you, and my greatest appreciation to you. I love that. And I love how you also tied in something very important that you said, showing up for yourself, because I think it's a bonus if we have people around us who support us and lift us and elevate us. But showing up for yourself is something almost you kind of got to do in the dark, even when you don't feel like it. So in the world of analytics, how do you do that, like on the days that you feel off? And what is the conversation that you have with yourself when, let's say, you're having an off day? Because I know we all have it, even I have it.
Well, everybody. Well, you have to, in those times, I try to catch it before it gets too bad. That's one other thing too. You have to recognize your mood, and then force yourself maybe to go outside and take a walk. If you feel really bad, force yourself to go outside. If it's luckily I live in Miami, so I can do all the time, but go outside, take a walk, go to the ocean, like feel nature, something like change your state. The human brain can really only focus on one thing at once. And often it can be as simple, well, it's not easy, but it's simple in concept of changing your point of focus. If you can recognize what's making you feel bad, really distract yourself. And one good way of doing that also is just gratitude. You have something bad happening to you, say gratitude. Wow, like thankfully, I live in a great place. I have great friends. I'm healthy. I'm alive. I have this. I have that. And it changes your mindset. Just whenever it's really bad, try to program yourself to focus on gratitude and to recognize that you've been in bad situations before, and you will come out the other side.
Absolutely. And one thing I do love about you too is your level of perspective. And I think like attracts like, so I'm like this too, but making your perspective change according to your circumstances, because I believe like our ultimate goals are driven by also our perspective. So if we're going to make something happen, can you speak a little bit to this? Because I think you are great at this.
I have kind of a bizarre take on perspective on this. So I often think back to the concept of time and our experience on Earth to get really voodoo about it. I think that we're all in these bodies, which are sort of vehicles that are carrying us through our life experience here. And I think that really how we choose to spend our time is the most important decision we make, because we can't get any more of it ever again.
Right.
You can't buy it more, you can't get any more, like that's it. And so how our time is our most valuable asset. And I think that on a real metaphysical level, we're all here to be the brightest, best versions of ourselves. And that's different for everybody. And so I try to approach things that way. On that same token, I think of things from a real kind of infinite universal way. Is that this is if you study like weird and dimensional math and stuff, right? It gets you thinking that what we think of as time, from however long anyone thinks the Earth is, whatever one believes, our lives are a speck. They're nothing. It's this. It's this. It's this. The Stoics talked a lot about this. Pretend you already live accordingly, because if your life is a day or 100 years, on a universal basis, it's nothing. It passed like this. And so that actually takes gravity away from things that I think people put undue importance on, because you really can't take it with you. It's all going to go away. So what really makes you happy and what makes you, and how do you add then to get not to get totally nihilistic? Like I think that we should add to some energy in the earth, like do something of beauty that illustrates some maximum human potential. And I think that's how we make the world better around us. But I have a very good friend who's a large real estate developer, and he's a self-made guy. And one day I was going up the boardwalk with him on a sunrise and a bike ride, and he builds huge buildings all over the place, and he's looking at the sunrise, and he says, whatever religion you are, whatever you think, when you look at like the grandeur of nature, how could you think anything we do on this earth is of any significance? That actually liberates you. It liberates you, because if you think something is a big deal, you can't do it. You're not equal to it.
That is so true. Absolutely love that. Wow. Okay, let's talk real estate, because I think that this is where you shine. Like literally your whole face lights up when you talk about this. So I want to give people a little bit of insight, but how do you identify lucrative investment opportunities in real estate, and what factors do you consider when evaluating potential projects?
Sure. So one, I always start baseline looking at the world within which it lives. What are the basic supply and demand fundamentals for that market or submarket? Is it addressing a need in the market? Do I feel like the market is trending towards that type of product? Like, is it aligned with an upswing in the market? That's baseline number two concept. And then scarcity and location obviously are huge factors also. And then if we're talking new developments, then it's who built it, what's their track record, do they deliver a good product? That's a consideration for new development. But in general, is what you're looking to purchase aligned positively with the supply and demand fundamentals of where you are, and is there some type of scarcity dynamic that'll ensure its longevity? And then beyond that, it's a deal by deal thing.
So good. And I'm really happy you touched on something there, because the concept of location is often emphasized in real estate. I know that you've honed into the Miami market, but can you elaborate on the significance of location selection and its impact on the success of whatever you invest in, or your projects, your portfolio?
Yeah, sure. I mean, location, even as a simple example, is your waterfront view a forever waterfront view? Is there a lot in front of you, right? If you're on the water, for example, and the region you're in is growing, you've locked in that water view. That's usually a fantastic thing, unless it's really egregiously priced and doesn't pencil out, right? So it's considerations like that. Is the location you're in? Is it on the receiving end of wealth migration, for example, like what we have happening here in
Yes.
Florida? Is there population with money moving towards you? Basically, how are you aligned with macroeconomics and then the actual scarcity of the land that you're on? Is there lots of other land like this? Is there a lot of empty land around you that could be something that's an unknown? So all these things factor in the consideration of how good your location is. So first start looking like top and then drill down to that specific spot.
Perfect. And real estate is such a dynamic industry and it's influenced by so many various external factors. How do you adapt your strategies and tactics to thrive in this changing economic and market conditions that are constantly evolving?
They are, and the post-COVID world, when it comes to our real estate markets, is quite different than the pre-COVID world. So you have to really stay on top of it. So you have to update all your charts and everything monthly, quarterly, try to identify what the trends are, what the momentum cycles are. There's census reports, there's IRS reports, there's all these things that indicate how stuff is flowing. So you really have to stay on top of it. And most people, as I said, are not good at perceiving momentum cycles and what they imply, because these things tend to snowball. And so it's important. For example, like I always mentioned the wealth and talent migration. In high tax US jurisdictions like New York or California, the top 1% pay over 40%, really over 45%, account for over 45% of the tax revenue. Like California recently said, wow, our budget shortfall is bigger than we thought. Like, well, what do you think is going to happen when you lose just a small percentage of those people? You've decimated your tax base. And those things have forward-looking implications. So you have to keep kind of tabs on that. Is it like still happening every year? Where is it going? And
Amazing. I can't wait to see what you do with all this stuff. I know your new project that you're working on. We're going to get to that. But also, as an entrepreneur, I mean, real estate, I love real estate. I think it's a fantastic investment if you buy right. But let's talk about a little bit between real estate and entrepreneurship. There is risk involved. How do you navigate the fine line between taking calculated risks and avoiding reckless decisions that could, let's just call it, jeopardize, whether it's, I'm going to say like your money, your portfolio, could even be your business as an entrepreneur?
good question. I mean, when do really people get in trouble is when they have too much debt. So don't do crazy stuff with debt, I would say. But beyond that, honestly, I don't think that way so much. I'm always that's the honest answer. I'm not really like a worrywart. I tend to think forward of what I'm going to do, but I don't do stupidly crazy things. Like I don't over leverage to do speculative things. I'm more always in my head about things that I'm doing and creating.
I love it. It's the more that I think we spoke about stoicism before, even taking responsibility of your life, and it could even be your health and fitness that can impact like risk. That I feel like that's risk in itself, right? You don't look after yourself, you're not gonna
Huge risk.
results with
Yes.
your body. It's the same with anything, real estate, money, whatever it is. And I love your positive attitude. But Anna, in the ever-evolving landscape of real estate, what strategies or principles have you found to be most effective in staying ahead of, I'm going to say, the game as an entrepreneur?
In information, being better informed than other people. 100%. That's what I've done from the beginning. It's just
good.
knowing more and having your own unique, it's not proprietary information, anyone can get it, but it's unique in the sense that no one else is putting it together that way or had. And so
brilliant.
Doing your own thing, creating something new that didn't exist before, original thoughts. I think that's key, because then people start to trust you as an expert and see, because you are, because that's why I did it. I wanted to actually know what was going on. And then I started publishing it. It was from a real intent of trying to see the truth and not make things up. I think that people can sense that you're not just spinning stuff. You're not just selling them all the time.
And I'm so happy that you spoke to this too, because comes to a question around personal branding. I mean, a lot of people, I think, underestimate the power of branding, even in a name, right? Like everyone knows you as Ana Analytics and Analytics Miami. How important do you think it is to build a brand, build a personal brand, and what are the impacts that you think it has on your opportunity of closing new clients, new ventures, new opportunities?
I think it's hugely important because as an entrepreneur, your personal brand is you because you can't hide. It's on you. You're not in a hierarchy. You're not in a corporation. You're not a politician. You can't do something and then walk away from it. It's you. And I think it's super important that from the beginning, people know they can trust you. And that's one thing that I've done from the very beginning. Anything that I put out, it's not bias. I have no bias. I'm not tied to anything. I'm on my own entity. So everything I put out, I stand behind 1,000%. I mean, I could have made a mistake. Anyone can make a mistake, but it's not a bias. It's not a spin. So everything I put out, everything I say, I believe. And I think that
You are.
people, yeah. So I think that people know that and they expect that of me and they trust me. And I think
Amazing.
that's important.
And I know that for a fact, like you've built such an excellent brand and personal brand just in a form of trust. I think trust is huge, especially in the times that we're living in. So congratulations for that. And we're going to talk about how we can follow you. But many entrepreneurs, I'm going to say business owners, whatever it is, doesn't matter what level you're at, struggle with self-doubt and fear of failure. How do you, Ana, overcome these challenges and maintain confidence in your own vision and abilities?
So I don't have fear of failure so much in a visceral sense because I've always thought, I mean, really, look, I was born in a country that no longer exists. We live in America. What's your worst case scenario here? You're not going to be in a war zone, probably not, right? So you're going to have running water. You're going to have internet. It's not that catastrophic for me it's not right. So what is failure really? You're not going to be homeless in the street. So I don't get that scared of it. What I have is imposter syndrome, 1,000%. Or imposter syndrome, and also I still wrestle with this. I often think that what I'm saying is obvious and not interesting, and then it's the reverse. And this happens every time I give a talk or a presentation. I'm like, I hope this isn't stupid. And I truly think that it's like boring and interesting half the time. And everyone applauds. They're like, wow, that was so great. And I'm like, and this happens to me to this day. And so it's something that I have to like repeat in my head that it's interesting to people. And just because I see it as simple doesn't mean that it is. And that's tricky for me.
And it's funny because some of the greatest entrepreneurs, speakers, coaches, whoever it is in the world, they think that what they do is easy or simple, even with what I do, but it's actually so not. And I think this is a great lesson for anyone listening. I mean, you've done so incredibly well in your career as a person, and it's an important message. Just because you think it's simple, it may be dumb. There may be someone on the other side of the earth who you change your life through the words that you're saying. And I really want to highlight that. And thank you for your vulnerability and just for adding to that, because it takes a very strong soul. And you've done so much in the world, and it's so awesome to follow your journey. So Ana, what is $1 million brand to you?
Oh, $1 million brand to me is something that has implicit value. You look at it and you just know. You don't have to be sold.
I love it. I love it. An awesome answer. And tell us a little bit about what you're doing next, and just let everyone know how they can follow you. I know that you are working on something called, am I allowed to say?
Yeah.
MiamiDealSheet.com. What an awesome domain name, firstly, just to add on to the highlights of everything you've done in your career and your life. But I think this is going to be absolute fire. So I'd love for you to speak a little bit about that, and how can people find you? How can people follow you, especially if they're looking to invest in the market or do some big things?
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. So where they can follow me, my website where I publish data is analytics.miami. I'm on Instagram, Ana_analytics, and then Twitter, Ana_analytics, another underscore, and then under my name on LinkedIn. So those are all the places people can find me. And so, yeah, I have this new exciting thing coming out. So Analytics Miami, that website remains, and it will be largely unchanged. That's where I publish work quarterly or more frequently if something interesting comes up. And that's an intentionally not overtly commercial site. That's like a white paper. I go there and I publish data on the market for free that anybody can download. So now I've launched something new called Miami Deal Sheet. And this is sort of, piggybacking off my belief in this thesis that Miami has just started to emerge as a global capital. This wealth and talent migration in the US has just begun, and people are going to keep coming here. So because people see me in things, real estate things, they reach out to me and they say, hey, do you do residential real estate? And it's always been like, well, yes, like, who are you? What are you doing? Like, do I want to work with them? Like, what's going on? And so it's kind of to make that a systematic thing, saying, yes, I do residential real estate for select clients. And this is actually the platform through which we're doing it. And one big focus of this platform is new construction. Because we have a lot of exciting, one of the most active new construction landscapes in the country. Very few other American cities are building because of construction costs, interest rates, all those things. We have a whole lot of cranes in Miami, which is kind of unique. And people who are coming want solutions. They want new product. And new product is actually very hard to get your head around because there's no central database. The developers hire major brokerages, but it's not in the MLS, it's not on Zillow. It's hard. You say, I want to spend X amount of dollars, have move in by this year, that year. You can't just type it in and no. And also there's risk with new construction, the track record of the developer, what do they do, all those things. It's hard. They all have nice, pretty printouts. They all look good, but how do you know? Right. So we're doing one thing there where we're going to be we're going to creating a database with this pertinent information for new construction, and then recommending projects to people, serving as their buyer's agent in general, and with the pre-construction focus, because I know the developers, I work with them, I know all the projects, and I'm not affiliated with any of the major brokerages paid to market them. So it's an unbiased opinion, like I've always done, lending our expertise towards this, of like saying, hey, these are the projects that are good investments, that have good track records, they're delivering in this year, like fits what you're looking for, sort of helping people figure that out. And then also picking, my picks for the best deals in South Florida. So it's kind of like a buyer's agent platform with a focus on pre-construction.
Fantastic. I can't wait till it comes out. So if you're watching this, I'm going to put all the links below. But Ana, it's been such an honor and a privilege to have you on the show. I know it's not the last that we will see of you. Can't wait to see what you do with your jiu-jitsu and the next avenues of this next couple of years. I think you're just shining so bright, and it's such a great honor to know you.
Likewise. Thank you so much. I feel so lucky to have met you. We met and it was just like poof, and we were together the whole evening and talking all the time since then. So thank you. I thank you for taking time to interview me with such great questions. It was really fascinating. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.